Okay, alright, I am back with my chassis design. What have I done? I've just basically extruded, let me show you. I have extruded the shape of the chassis. I've changed it a little bit at the back over there. I just wanted around the pod to be as wide as the rest of the chassis. You can see I have now the curve following all the way to the back over there from the front, and here I need the opening here for the gear, the spur gear from the diff. And in the front, all I've added was these little slots over there where the front ends will fit and stop moving from left to right. And oh yeah, the other thing I've changed here, these slots over there, the relief cuts was 30 mil originally, and just looking at the overall length of the chassis, I've made it 40 mil, so there would be a lot more flex over there. And then inside I'm going to do flex cuts as well, the same way I've done on the trike, the mini version. You can see the mini version, I have the flex cut for the T-plates over there, and then I have more relief cuts, so that's allow a lot more flex overall on the chassis. So once I have everything placed around battery, servo, and so on, I will work on that. So for the front, you can see this little 20 mil marker I've had. This is where the front of the servo, the front wall of the servo will be. So I'm going to have to figure out servo mounts over there. I don't know if I make the servo mount along with the front razor or not, because I would rather have one piece that I can use for both the F1 and the vintage F1. So I'll see about that, but I'm just going to place the servo, by the way, your best friend on earth, digital caliper. So the servo is 41 by 20 mil. So let's go place it. And here you go. So this is where the servo is going to be. And now I need to figure out, first of all, where, before I think about the how I'm going to place the battery. So ideally, I would like to be able to use regular hard sticks, shorty sticks, as well as low center of gravity shorty sticks. So those are the same dimension, except that the LCG is just a little bit thinner. So ideally I want to run those cars with the LCG, but I don't know if the long battery is going to fit on it in length, but I would like, best case scenario would be to have everything on it. So for the long battery, I need 14 by 45. Let's see exactly how wide this is. 46.2. Okay, 46.2, 140. Let's make one of those square anywhere. So we get 46.2 and 140. We can place a long battery pack. Now the issue that is going to be with a long battery pack is that we're going to have to put the electronic on an upper level. But there is a lot of space in the chassis, and there's going to be an upper plate anyway. The question is, how do I want to remove the battery pack from the car? Because let me show you, on such cars like the TRF 102, you have the upper deck over there, the upper carbon deck, and you have the battery that slides underneath. You need to remove 2 screws every time that you want to remove the battery. This on its own I find troublesome, but this is only 2 screws. On the conversion that I've done for the F103 GT, I need to remove 1, 2, 3, 4 screws to remove the battery and then slide it underneath. This is too much. So ideally, I would like to have something that I can maybe remove from the side a slot or something. I gotta figure it out. Oh, one thing I need to design. You see, the battery here is mounted on this tray, but this tray's function is to hold the T-plates over there. So the battery is about 5 mil from the T-plates. Now, with the system that I'm going for, when the T-plate is part of the chassis, I need to allow movement of the T-plate that will not push the battery around. And for traction, I want to have the battery as far back as possible. So at the back of the chassis here, all this is going to flex left to right and up and down. So I need to give room for that to move. So I'm going to have to build some kind of part to hold this at heights. Now I have a lot of different poles like that, different sizes that I'm going to use for the construction. So I think I'm going to have a first deck that is going to be, so this is 4.8, so I guess this is supposed to be 5. Am I at 0? Yeah. Okay, so that's happened when you buy manufactured 5 mm poles. They're 4.9 or 4.8. Let's see if they're all random like that. Yeah. Okay, so those are 4.8, 4.5. I could use nylons. I have nylon one. Those one are brass. I think the brass are going to be fine. So I think I'm going to work out a deck at which I'm going to put the battery on top. Let's see what's the dimension for the shorty. The shorties are 95. So the same for the LCG, 92. So okay, so that's let's say 95, just to have an average. About this distance from the back, that seems about fine. Okay, so the shorty is going to stop around here. That's my shorty pack and my LCG pack. So ideally, with the shorty and the LCG, this is where you're going to place your electronic, your receiver, and your ESC. You actually even have space to put them on the side here, all the way up. I mean, on the side. You see this is where I placed mine over here. I placed mine at the back. Traditionally, people will put it in the front to have more weight at the back, which means more traction. That is just suited for my own taste. But the receiver, can you see? Yeah, the receiver is mounted like that on the side. So on this narrow area, you actually have enough space to place a receiver or an ESC. Just place them up. So I think I don't need anything specific for using the long battery, as the receiver will have space on the sides. And all I need to think about is to have a deck to hold those, but that doesn't take, actually that might be a really good way to have a battery held simply by a couple of straps. And okay, so let's work on that. I think I have an idea what I'm going to do. So we are going to have those poles, those are in diameter 4.5, so let's say 5 to be safe. And I think I can design a frame that can hold everything into place, that the battery can be put on from the top and held with a strap around. And this way I don't need to actually figure out an upper deck. So that's actually might be the best solution, because then all my dampening can be done with taller tubes. So if you try to see, let me show you a quick, I'm going to do a quick drawing so you can see what I'm talking about, so it's less abstract. Okay, so let's open Photoshop. Let's plug the vacuum and let's give you a quick look at what's going on in my head. All right, so I'm using my Vacuum A4 tablet now to draw. Okay, you're gonna see my double screen, so I'm gonna reduce this to a single screen. So what I'm talking about is I have those little poles that are, how big am I right now? Okay, first of all, let's change the color. So I have the first little poles that are just 5 mm tall. So those are going to be over here. Little pole 5 mm. So I'm probably going to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 on each side. Over there, another one over there, and another one over there. And so those are going to accommodate some kind of a plate that is going to have probably anchor points for the different size batteries. So I'm going to have to figure out maybe one way we'll have the full size battery like that to hold the long batteries, and then the other sides will have the hook for the shorty batteries, so it will be reversible, so you can use it one way for the regular size stick, the other way for the shorty size stick, and you can actually reverse. If I make it symmetrical, you could reverse it to move the battery from the back to the front. And then, so that would be this FRP is 2 mm thick. This pole here is 5 mm. Then we're going to have these FRP parts that are going to be 2 mm on top of it. And then on top of that, I can have longer poles from any dimensions. This should be 20 or 15. That's an 18. I think I have a couple longer, I'm not sure, but this is easy to find, to source. Yeah, 18 I think is the general size that I have. So on top of that, you can have an 18 mm pole, which by the way doesn't have to be together here. You can have separate holes to mount it in different places, because I'm going to need to figure out at the rear here, we're going to have the pod assembly over there. And on top of that, we're going to have the plates that you see in yellow right now. And on here, we're going to mount the 2 dampers over there. So this dimension is going to be fixed with the dampers that I'm going to use. So this, I'm going to have to figure out the dimension, and I'm going to have to work out where is the 18 mm pole going to be like. And it might be 18, it might be more or less. I think that would be good as well, because the angle that you give the damper changes the dampening dynamic. So this is what I'm going to have to work on first. I'm going to have to figure out this first mounting holes, trying to have something regular, and figure out this long FRP bar. And I believe that I can have, so I would have this FRP here, I would have another similar one over here, like so. And then in order to mount the servo, I can have something similar using the maybe 10 mil pole or something like that. And then I can have an FRP part, so that I can see my mouse. I can have an FRP part that holds this into place around that. And the servo comes to screw inside here. So that would give me options as well to have maybe more stiffening later on, but that would be 1, 2, 3, 4 FRP plates for the entire 5 with the back over there. So 5 FRP plates, knowing that those are twice the same. They just mirror of each other, but they should be the same if I design it properly. So this would be good, because this I can get away with 5-piece FRP only for the entire chassis, and then everything else is brass or aluminum poles. Okay, so I got my game plan. I'm happy with that. So now I got to figure out how do I do these bars. So let's see. I'm going to keep this sketch of the batteries as is, because this is a good reference to work from, and the servo is on it as well, so that's perfect. So I'm going to keep these for reference, and I'm going to make a new sketch on top of that, and this is going to be placing the FRP that I want to have. So let's skip the large battery first. how big do we need this to be? 6. I want stiffness, so that's another thing that I can do as well, is depending on how many poles I'm going to put along the chassis, I can add or remove stiffness by the amount of mounting points that I have. So I think I'm going to do as many different mounting points as possible. So I want something that's quite thick. I don't want something too thin. So 8 mil should be pretty sweet. On that front to hold the battery, I don't need too much. 3 should be enough. 3 mil should be plenty enough to hold the battery in place. So 13 by 3. And then for the shorty pack is going to stop over there. So here is what I was talking about. I'm going to give it 3 by 3 as well. And so this is going to be what holds the shorty pack in place. And so this shape that I just drew over there is something that is going to be usable in both directions. Let me remove everything so you just see this on its own. We can remove this one. So that will be the FRP plates that would be on the top, and I can have probably in the neighborhood of 8 holes equally distant over there, and then I can mount as many or as little mounts as I want to make the chassis more or less stiff. I think this is a very good tuning option for the chassis. Yeah, so let's do that. Let's bring back the battery. We're going to, of course, this is just for reference what I'm doing. The FRP will be a new part of the assembly of my 3D file. At the moment I'm keeping this as a reference point, so I'm going to do, once again, keeping this as the FRP reference. Sorry about that. So this is going to be my ref. Oh gosh, I have to change my shortcuts. So I was designing and talking, but that was not a recording. So let me see what I did when I was not recording. I've done all these holes. So let's bring back the beautiful drawing that I had before. So I had done the FRP reference plates over there that will be holding the different battery sizes, and so I just made mounting holes equidistant, both in width and in length, with the battery mounts. And so the reason why I decided to do that many is that I can select how many do I use when I mount my battery, and this way you can stiffen or loosen the flex of the chassis by how many you mount between the lower plates and the upper plates. So this is a really big plus, I think. I don't think I'm going to use 5 mil. Oh, no, I am going to. I just realized a big mistake that I've made, actually, that I didn't think about. My original intention was to raise the battery 5 mil in order to give the plate over here, the T plate, enough room to bend up and down and left and right. And so right now I'm designing those plates as if they were going to be stuck directly on the chassis, but they are not going to. I need the battery to be raised a little bit. In order to do that, I can do one simple, I just need to have anything underneath that is going to raise it and allow for Velcro strap or elastic strap or tape to be put around. So this is where I'm going to use those 5 mil. So I need something that is going to be balanced and that is going to mount underneath here. So time for a new sketch. And it's going to be time later for me to change all my shortcut on the video capture, because I have just screwed up like a good 10 minutes of video. Good job. I'm new to this, so hang tight. Things are going to get better as it goes on. So I want to mount the battery. I'm going to have a plate down there that is not disturbing the flex of the chassis too much. Actually, I can do what I did on the top here and have more options to mount these plates. The thing that's going to be tough if I do height adjusters like that, and you see they're very, very, very small. They're just 5 mil, which means between the lower screw and the upper screw, I'm gonna have a very small window to mount them. But I think if I find the right size screws, that is going to be feasible. I'm just gonna have to work. I think the screws are gonna have to be very, very, very short. But I think that's not a problem. So we're gonna mount it from the bottom. I think this is the best way. I want to have parts that are as small as possible because I want to be able to make as many of everything in one big sheet of FRP from the factory. So that is another thing that I'm considering, is that everything is going to have to be countersunk for the chassis to be completely flat at the bottom. Yeah, it is. Sometimes I'm thinking I shouldn't countersunk just for lowering the cost, but I think this is just nuts. I'm not going to be able to get away without doing the countersunk. So for my screws, I'm going to have to make the mount. I think this is fair enough if I do something between those holes. I think this is the center of everything, so it should be good enough to do it here. Okay, so I'm going to first of all place the holes in the chassis, and then I'm going to make a reference drawing of the shape that I want on top of that. That will be another FRP part. Oops, there is a big shape over there. Okay, is your recording? Good. All right, so holes are cut. Oh, that's the battery that's giving me, okay, this big square over there. Okay, that's fine. So FRP plate is going to need not much, actually. It can be pretty hollow. I don't want it to be too structural. I don't want it to affect too much the chassis flex. So I think it's good if you can mount it with the free. Actually, this one is not placed properly at all. This is right in the middle of my flex plate. No, that's not gonna work. I need to change where this is. I need to change. This one is not going to be here. I'm gonna have to remove, 10 mil should be good. Let's move this guy 10 mil inside. And yeah, it doesn't need to be symmetrical in any way, shape, or form. So, another thing is I would like to have, I know I don't need to have a strap around because I have those little hooks. Okay, so that's good. So this is just going to be a strap going around. Do I have an example? Not really yet at the moment. Well, it would be something similar to that, in the sense that you have those little shapes that are hooking the battery, and then you have the strap going around here. So it's going to be similar to what I have here, except that this is 90 degrees from what I'm drawing at the moment on the screen. Okay, so I'm going to switch my hole to this one, and I'll be good to go. Whatever happened to my voice here, do not be worried. It's perfectly natural. Okay, so those are my holes where the plate is going to mount, and I'm just going to do a reference drawing of the plate so I can work it out on my next sketch. Okay, so I don't want to disturb at all the flex plate at the back. The size here is good to have all these options. Thinking in the center here, I don't really need them. I don't need to have too many over there. So let's just make something that's large enough to hold the battery. We have, if we have anything in the neighborhood of 28, even 26 in width, we should be good. And then for the length, it's going to be Doesn't really matter, because as long as I have as much as the battery as possible, I'm good to go, because this is not going to touch the plate over there. So maybe I can be pretty aggressive, maybe something like 82. That should be pretty good. And this way, the shorty battery pack that would be over there is going to have plenty enough shape to hold it from here to the back. So I think this is the way to go. Yeah. Okay, let's go with this. So that's going to be my reference for, that's going to be the battery height adjustments. Okay, so here you go. Let me remove all those reference drawing, and we're going to stick to what we have now for the second part. Oh, this is another part altogether. Okay, let's get rid of it. Okay, so this is the chassis as I have it now. I'm still missing the holes for the servo mount in the front, and there should be a little bar sticking out here just to be able to snap the front of the traditional F1 front spoilers or bumpers. As you can see over there, this little marker sticking out. So this is something I'm going to have to do as well. Other than that, I'm just missing the countersinking holes, just countersink everything. And at the rear here, I'm going to have to figure out probably 2 to 3 mounting holes for doing whatever I want to do at the back, be it diffuser, spoiler mount, or whatnot. So, okay, we are pretty much done with the chassis design. So the next time I'll come back with this one completely finished, and then I'll start working on the other levels, the other FRP plates. All right, so on that note, see you next time. Bye-bye.